biggest change in 2024 regarding regulation is election of President Trump as the new incoming president. Very clearly, he has outlined that he's pro-crypto, pro-Bitcoin, and he has also chosen members of his administration who are pro-crypto. And this has caused a big change of sentiment in the market. There is high expectation that US finally will come out with regulations which will be supportive of crypto becoming a very large industry. So US being the largest financial center in the world, its support to the crypto industry will be phenomenal. And that's what it is. The actual regulations will probably come out in 2025, but the change of sentiment has already happened. What really has stood out is implementation of MiCAR. So if you look at very large global standards have mostly come out of Europe. So let's talk about GSM, which was a standard for the phones, GDPR, which is the standard for data protection, and now MiCAR, which is being implemented all across Europe. And my expectation would be that this will become the regulatory standard all across the world, of course, with different variations depending upon geographical nuances essentially building. So to me, this tells everybody to get regulated. And regulations mean customers will get protected. That means institutions can come in because they know what are the rules of the road that they need to adhere by. And thirdly, the institutions that are coming in can scale up, go to the IPO markets, essentially build businesses without worrying about some enforcement action being taken and not knowing what to do with it. To me, MiCAR is the biggest advancement that we have seen, and we play in Europe in a big way. And we are seeing clients moving in this direction to essentially get themselves registered under MiCAR. What didn't happen in 2024 is we didn't have any major FTX or Luna. And that itself gives the whole industry a respite. That also shows that the industry is learning from its past mistakes and becoming better. And then the second thing that has essentially happened is, of course, MiCAR, election of President Donald Trump, which is pro-crypto. And both these regulations, MiCAR in Europe and the election of a pro-crypto regime in the US, would mean that at least for the next few years, institutions can jump in. Crypto can grow without the fear of regulations not being there. So they have clear rules for the road, which is hugely positive for crypto as an industry. And I expect for the next few years, it'll really be the golden years for crypto like it was from 1997 till 2004 .com or Silicon Valley. You need that period of robust growth underpinned by robust regulation for industry to essentially take shape. So the biggest challenge, and it's an ongoing challenge, is really the scams that have taken a big turn upwards globally. So if you look at the pig butchering scams, which are also called romance scams, there's not a single day goes by where lots of us, in fact, I think most of us who are on social media, get some message to essentially say, hey, I would like to know you. And then that leads to some kind of a romance scam or the investment scams. And it's particularly prevalent in countries where GDP per capita is higher, and it's being run at industrial scale in lots of geos around the world, trying to con people out of their money. And this has essentially taken on some kind of an epidemic proportions. And this is something that's going wrong. And Crystal, along with a lot of other peers and also law enforcement, are fighting against it, constantly making sure that our technology is up to the mark, where crypto is being used to facilitate these scams or facilitate the payments. Then we are able to support law enforcement and the regulators to take action against it. But it's an ongoing battle. I would say that it's constantly a cat and mouse game. The scamsters are becoming smarter, but also we are staying ahead of the game by constantly investing in our technology and building algorithms to be able to give that to the law enforcement agency. A lot of work still to be done, but this is a battle that we are going to win. Crypto is already $3 trillion plus asset class in 2024. Every single government in the world is realizing this genie can't be put back in the bottle. And then second, law enforcement is realizing that they need to have capabilities to tackle scams, hacks, crimes that a lot of time are there in the crypto industry. So what we are seeing is huge amount of readiness build-up that's happening at regulators, at law enforcement, to make sure that not only they're able to regulate, but they're able to stop these things. I would say 2024 is the year, and it'll continue for a number of years on capacity building. And Crystal has been a major part working with the governments to make this happen. It may be the European Central Bank, it may be the Dubai police, it may be many other regulators and law enforcement that we have been actively working with. We have been a European Union company based out of Amsterdam, but European Central Bank deciding to work with us was clearly a milestone that we have all enjoyed, because in some way that is owed to the work that we have been doing. Same thing with Dubai Police. Dubai Police deciding to work with us in partnership, signing an MOU is again a testament of the technology and the leapfrog that Crystal has made in supporting law enforcement, not just for Dubai Police, but it is essentially for all law enforcement around the world. For me and for the team here at Crystal, that not only tells us that our sense of purpose is there, but also that we are succeeding. We are succeeding because regulators and law enforcement are starting to use our tools to make them effective in the field and with the work that they're doing. So a great sense of purpose and fulfillment for all the people here at Crystal. I predict 4 major things that are going to happen in 2025. One, lot of commercial banks. And here I'm talking about banks in every single jurisdiction. It could be here in the UAE, it could be in the US, in UK, and many other markets in the world will start issuing stablecoins. What banks will do, they will become issuers and they will essentially make sure that those stablecoins can be converted between fiat to blockchain-led stablecoins in the digital format that they're in. The second thing is I would see one real-world asset scaling up. And it could be gold, it could be treasury bills, it could be real estate, but many companies are tinkering in that direction. But what I expect in 2025 is at least one asset class will take off in a big way where real world asset will be known by that particular asset class or will become part of institutional asset portfolio in the real world asset tokenization category. The third would be, I expect quietly, and again, there'll be no big announcements around this, a few sovereign funds will start investing in Bitcoin. So they will diversify and add Bitcoin to their basket or the portfolio that they're currently carrying, and they'll become active investors. And of course, this will have some impact on Bitcoin as a whole, but they would start doing so. And then the fourth thing that I expect is artificial intelligence, and that's where a lot of work Crystal is doing, will become mainstay in catching crime, building algorithms to make sure that technologically we are able to keep ourselves ahead for all the hacks and scams that are happening in the market. The AI technology will, of course, already being used for investing and trading to be used in catching crime in a big way. And we'll be one of the leaders in bringing that to market. Today, most of our customers get impacted in scams through social media. I would expect many of the social media companies, again, all the large companies that we know about, addressing this issue head on by taking education programs and essentially informing all their users to essentially say, don't fall victim to these hacks and scams. Similarly, I would expect banks to take a similar role as well. So between these institutions, they'll start to become a coalition force for good. And of course, they will use technology not only to inform users, but to proactively catch issues when they're happening. So you could very well expect you are looking to make a payment, or you're looking to respond to a message that you have received on social media, and you will get a warning to say, this particular person or this particular message or this particular payment looks like a suspect. Please beware, please check before you actually make this payment or respond to this message. You'll find a number of technologies coming together in a preventive measure to help customers not fall victim to crimes. Some of it is already happening, but you'll start seeing it in a big scale in 2025. And we are actively working with some of these institutions to make sure that happens as well. The regulatory landscape should become a lot robust, primarily driven by MiCAR. So there will be some variants of MiCAR which will become part of every single country's regulatory landscape. Everybody realizes that more and more countries will issue regulations on crypto, regulations on stable coins, and make sure it will be some variant or some leaf of it would have been taken from MiCAR. So that's one thing that's going to happen. The second thing is the fear of enforcement will go away in the US. So US may not issue regulation, but at least the whole administration and agencies will become a lot more crypto friendly. And that itself will help in a big way for the largest capital market in the world to start investing and to start taking benefits from the crypto markets. The third thing within that, automatically a lot of institutions will feel comfortable with this change of tone in the US and with MiCAR and its variant coming around the world to then say, we want to have a digital asset strategy. For example, 20 years ago, you would find companies talking about what is your China strategy? And even now, everybody will say, what's your AI strategy? Similarly, the discussion in the boardrooms, at least for the financial sector, would be, what's your blockchain strategy? What is your digital asset strategy? And I expect that to happen in 2025. UAE will become even stronger, particularly with VARA, with the number of licenses that will essentially get approved, and these companies will essentially become bigger companies. The second thing that will start to happen is in a number of markets around the world, and this will primarily be US, UK, Australia, EU, and UAE, many of these companies will start to move towards the public, or they'll start to become pre-IPO stories, which essentially means that a lot of capital, VC capital, private equity capital, and also support from the banks will start to come for these pre-IPO companies to become successful. So everybody will realize that these companies are gaining scale and they'll start to get legitimacy by getting themselves listed or close to listing in the stock exchanges around the world. And these are all renowned stock exchanges, which will give a lot of comfort to the sector as a whole so that they are able to then find exits in the IPO markets. And investors, of course, will have multiple choices to invest in these companies. The 4 predictions that I have is, number 1, number of commercial banks will launch stablecoins. Second, one particular real world asset will get tokenized and will gain scale, and we will all know our industry by it. Third, very quietly, a few sovereign wealth funds will start to invest in Bitcoin and in the cryptocurrency for buy and hold. And fourth, artificial intelligence will start be actively used as a tool for preventing scams and hacks, which companies like us will lead.